Prynawn da, pawb. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. Today, world leaders are gathering in Egypt for COP27 to discuss the action we can all take to tackle climate change and reduce its impact around the globe. With everything happening in our lives, especially the impact of the cost of living crisis, it's easy to forget about the climate emergency or think that it's not happening here and now. But this year, we've seen the impact of climate change up close, with a drought declared across all parts of Wales, record-breaking temperatures and heat waves throughout the summer months. We can't afford to lose sight of our climate responsibilities. So that's why I have a message to all leaders attending COP27. There is no time to rest. This must be the decade of positive action to tackle climate change. It's easy to think that climate change is too big a problem, or we ask, why should Wales bother when there are larger countries which aren't taking their responsibilities as seriously? But climate action has many benefits. For example, homegrown renewable energy helps to lower our carbon emissions and creates green jobs, but it may also help to protect bill payers from some of the current volatility in the gas and electricity markets, which is causing prices to spike at the moment. At last year's COP26, we joined the Beyond Oil and Gas Alliance, which called time on coal and fossil fuel extraction. And last month, we announced our plans to create a publicly owned renewable energy developer, which will see profits reinvested back in Wales to benefit people in Wales. It's why we support community-owned renewable energy projects and why we favour wind turbines over fracking and gas drilling. A year ago, we launched our net zero strategy, which sets out more than 120 policies to help us reach our statutory target of achieving zero emissions by 2050. We've come a long way in 12 months. We've rolled out a retrofit programme to decarbonise social homes, installing insulation, solar panels and ground source heat pumps. We've invested in exciting and innovative projects, including wallpaper that can heat a room, old nappies to resurface roads, and we're exploring whether mine water can heat schools and homes. We've funded the More Life's renewable energy tidal project in Anglesey, and we've offered every home a free tree. We're third in the world for domestic recycling, and we hope our single-use plastics bill will become law next month. We are on track to meet our current carbon targets, but this is mainly because the pandemic reduced the number of people travelling and because of the closure of Aberthaw Power Station. If we are to stay on target, we need to continue to take bold action to meet our emissions targets. We cannot do this alone. We need support from businesses, from across the public sector and from the public. We all need to move towards net zero together. This is why I was pleased to see the FAW's work with the Future Generations Commissioner as it published its sustainability strategy just today. We've come a long way in the last 20 years. Wales was the world's first fair trade nation. In 2015, we became the world's first government to pass a Future Generations Act, which means all our policies must consider the impact on the generations of tomorrow. We're world leaders when it comes to recycling. And closer to home, we were the first part of the UK to introduce a carrier bag charge. Just as I'm asking all world leaders at COP27 to keep going, to keep up the pressure when it comes to climate change, I also want to ask everyone in Wales to be part of that journey to net zero. I want everyone to come together as one big team, Team Wales, to act on the climate and to build a better future for our country. Thank you. Diolch. I'll now take questions from journalists, and the first one is Stefan Messenger.
Hi, thank you. Can I just ask about a specific commitment you made last year at COP26 in an interview with us, which was to review public procurement rules so that school dinners, hospital food and so on doesn't include ingredients that are contributing to deforestation overseas. Has anything concrete happened over the last 12 months as regards to that? And when are we likely to see that change?
Yeah, so procurement's actually in the portfolio of my colleague Rebecca Evans, but I've been working very closely with her to review procurement policies. We've also spoken in the Partnership Council about the need to make sure that Wales's global footprint is also the footprint we'd like to have here at home. So I'm sure you know this already, Stefan, but the net zero target could be achieved by just reducing our carbon footprint here in Wales. But actually, we don't want to do that by exporting problems elsewhere. We're very much part of a global community. So I'm happy to reiterate the commitment. We will do everything we can to make sure that we as Wales do not export our problems and in fact actually export solutions. So very happy to be working, for example, with the Wampi people to help them keep their lands productive and stop the deforestation.
So, quick follow-up on that. Is there a specific date or year in mind as regards when that's going to happen? And then just my second question is, would you agree there's a big focus at COP this year on the issue of loss and damage? Some environmentalists have said, look, Wales has a particular responsibility when it comes to action on climate change, because historically, our emissions as a result of all the coal mining. Do you share those sentiments?
So I don't have a particular date, but I'm happy to renew the commitment to make sure that we do reduce our deforestation footprint as fast as we can. We work with a number of groups, Size of Wales being the most obvious, and I was happy to sign up to their manifesto last year, and I'm very happy to reiterate that. I don't have a particular date in mind. We'll be doing it as fast as we can possibly do it. As I say, the whole point of the fair trade and just transition stuff is to make sure that in buying products abroad, we help the native people of the country abroad, and we're not, buying off big corporations and so on that actually assist in deforestation. In terms of the loss and damage, the UK needs to step up to that plate, absolutely. The people of Wales were pretty damaged by the Industrial Revolution themselves, and a lot of the profit was exported from Wales, and that's why we want to have a just transition this time. So absolutely agree that the UK government should step up to that plate. They should be world leaders and not trailing behind.
Thank you.
We've got Dan Bevan from Global.
Thank you, Minister. Just picking up on that point, is it right, do you think, particularly because China are one of the biggest countries asking for, let's call them what they are, they're the reparations for historic injustice when it comes to climate activism. There's a case to be made for countries like Pakistan, but is it right for the UK government to potentially be paying money to the biggest economy in the world because of this?
So the real issue here is about protecting people who, through no fault of their own, already impacted beyond endurance by climate change. We've seen the impacts here at home, and we know how difficult that was. But we have people whose island nations are going underwater and whose ways of life are really not sustainable unless somebody does something about it pretty fast, which is why this year's COP is really important for implementation. The agreement last time was great, but what's the point of an agreement unless people implement it? So unless we can get UK international aid up and we can get those clauses in place, we will not be able to help those nations. And as I always say, when people say, what's the point of Wales doing it if China isn't? What we should do is the right thing to do. And the right thing to do is to help those smaller nations. And if the price of that, to get those people to the table, is that we end up helping some of the other bigger nations decarbonise, well, then that's the price of it.
Thank you, Minister. And then on the green credentials of the new UK government, we know there was reluctance from Rishi Sunak to actually go to COP27, only deciding to go, it seems, because Boris Johnson was going. Does that concern you, that perhaps the green or the climate crisis was not quite far up the agenda for the new Prime Minister? Or can you see that, well, clearly there are quite a lot of problems at home that need dealing with as well?
It really does concern me, yes. I think that the UK should be a world leader here. They're the UN nation state that represents the rest of us. So of course he should have been going. I'm very glad that he changed his mind. I hope he will play a full role in making sure that the implementation of the decisions that, after all, Alex Sharma got last year, really, really good. That moved on further than any of us thought it would, and all praise to him. Well, now the implementation phase is here. It's not helpful, is it, that you construct a cabinet that doesn't have Alex Sharma at the table? You put somebody who isn't renowned for their environmental credentials into the environmental brief, and then you don't go to COP27. That's not the message that the UK should be sending to the world. So I'm delighted that he's seen sense. I hope he plays a full, prominent role in the meetings today and tomorrow. And, with any luck, the UK will regain its position as a world leader in this. So next we've got Will Hayward from Wales Online.
Thank you, Minister. In the summer of 2021, you said that it was a target that no one in Wales would be using a gas boiler after 2030. Given we're 7 years away from that, how likely do you think that aspiration will be achieved?
I'm still very hopeful we'll be able to do that. As I know you're very interested in this, Will. We're still running out the optimised retrofit programme. you know that we've always said that one size doesn't fit all. So we need to understand what tech, what solution works for each type of property in Wales. I know I'm telling you stuff you already know. So we'll be getting the learning out of that programme, accelerating now. We'll be able to make sure that our Wales Energy Service has that information to help people with it. And then once we've got that information, we'll be able to put programmes in place, loans and grants and so on, to help people move to that target. I've also been working with my colleagues Vaughan Gethin and Jeremy Miles to make sure that we have a pipeline of people trained to use new technology, and that we will be looking to retrain people whose current businesses are around retrofitting for gas boilers and so on.
Thank you. By the end of this Senedd term, what does success look like for the Welsh Government in terms of CO2 emissions in Wales? Can you give us a figure?
Yeah, so we've met our current carbon target. So I don't know what happened there. We've met our current carbon budget. We're discussing the next carbon budget. We've a lot to do. So what success will look like is to put us on a trajectory to make sure that our next carbon budget looks within grasp. So that's the big task for us, to make sure that we've turned the ship of state, if you like, in the right direction, and that we're heading towards that net zero target. You know as well as I do, well, that it's in stages. So for each stage, we can make sure that we're doing the right thing. We get the targets in place, and then we move on to the next one. We've got a long way to go. So the next one is Claire Board from Bauer Media.
Hi, Minister. So you mentioned earlier islands disappearing because of rising sea levels. The Climate Central Coastal Risk Screening estimates that many UK cities will be underwater by as early as 2050, Cardiff included. The UK government and Welsh Government's net zero target is 2050. Knowing that Cardiff could be largely underwater by that point, is that target set too late?
So we've got a range of other things that are in play there as well. I'm sure you've heard of something called TAN 15, which is the planning arrangements we have for coastal protection and flooding. I brought in a new TAN 15, but we've delayed the implementation of that at the request of our local authority partners. So that's for them to get something called the Serious Flood Containment plans in place. We expect all of our cities to be doing that, all our local authorities, I should say, to be doing that, ones with Cardiff and in them at the same time. We will then be looking to implement TAN 15 next September, and the whole purpose of that, of course, is to direct development away from places that would have flood risk if they haven't got the proper flood defences in place. And the idea is to have the plan over the next 10 to 15 years of what those flood defences should look like, so that we can implement a capital maintenance and investment plan, so that we can protect cities like Cardiff and Swansea. All over the planet, though, cities are built on river deltas and coastal plains because that's where trade is easiest. So this is something we need to do globally as well as just at home.
Thank you, Minister.
And the last one is David Wood.
Thank you, Minister. Disaster displacement due to climate change will inevitably get worse. It may be a long time ahead, but how is the Welsh Government going to tackle the problem of climate change refugees coming to Wales when you consider the current state of the economy, current problems with the backlogs in the NHS and seeing a doctor? Because climate change gets worse, there's no guarantee our economy will improve, particularly as the UK is out of the EU and relying on far-flung countries like India and Australia, who will have their own climate change problems.
So I'm very, very proud that Wales is a nation of sanctuary, and that I come from Swansea, which is a city of sanctuary. The contribution of refugees and migrants and asylum seekers from all over the world is absolutely palpable here in Wales. My own family have been migrants, so I know what that feels like as well. I would say that we would welcome people who want to make their home here in Wales, who want to contribute to our economy and help it grow. All over Wales, we have businesses who really could do with more people to help them reach the growth potential they have. So I don't take the same view as the UK government, I'm afraid. I say that we should welcome people who want to come and make their home with us, who want to come and learn our language and be part of our community and to help us in everything we do. I would not be standing here today without an NHS doctor who helped me through my breast cancer and who was from Sri Lanka. So as far as I'm concerned, those people are very welcome to make their home here.
Thank you, Minister.
Diolch. Thank you very much.